Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. And it's actually a good Erev Shabbos already, as we welcome in Saba. We welcome in Michal Chavin in the Aguda, and Aaron Swade, Baruch Ian, Yisrael Fisher, Shelley Zeitlin, Mark Frankel, Dr. Block, Yitzi Fuchs, Ruven Pollack, Chaim Kramer, Dr. Guy, Marshall Castle, Shalom Fogel, Irving Fishbaum, Ilya Shutman, Moshe Lehman, Yisrael Meir Kaplan, who gets a very warm welcome, Nachman Chapler, Irving Fishbaum, Rabbi Kranz, and Menachem Yamansky. We welcome David Helfgott on Kol HaLashon. We have a really Geshmak Daf tonight, as we are sponsored by Shalom Fogel, Nishmas Yaakov Zev, Ben Rabbi Yehuda Aryeh, Maris Rivka Bas Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, Maris Sivya Miriam Bas Rabbi God, Rabbi Yosef Ben Simon, and Rabbi Yaakov Zev, by Baruch Ian, Nishmas Yaakov Chaim Ben Abba, Esther Bas Gittel, Avram Ben Shmuel HaKayin, by Yaakov Yamansky, with Akos HaTov to the Rav and the Zoom family, Nachas from children and grandchildren, by A.B. Spry from Nachas from all his children, by Ed Salah from London, and Joshua Rosenberg, a virtual listener. We learned for our Chavar Adaf, Shimon Yehuda Ben Gittel. He should have a refuah shalema b'sech shar chol Yisrael. We have a very exciting daf tonight, and we are holding by Amar Abaya. Amar Abaya is 4 lines from the bottom of daf Ches Amud Beis. Amar Abaya, 4 lines from the bottom of daf Ches Amud Beis. Amar Abaya Mareish Le'avi Yosef Mar Atzipei Debei Knishla. Initially, when Abaya says Mar, he's talking about his Rebbe Rabbah. So he says initially Rabbah didn't sit on the mats in the synagogue. Why? Because it came from communal funds which were allocated for the poor. But Kavan Deshamallah Desanya, when he heard that, which what the Brisa says, that the Tuvei Ha'ir could divert the funds to whatever use that they wanted to, so then Hava Yosef, then Rabbah would sit there. Likewise, Amar Abaya, Mareish Hava Ovid Mar, Trei Kisei. Initially, my Rebbe Rabbah would have 2 separate purses. Chad La'niyei Da'alma, one for the poor of the rest of the world, v'chad la'niyei masa, and one for the poor of the city, because it says aniyei yircha kaidem, the poor of the city come first. Kavan d'shamal hadam alei Shmuel Rav Tachlifa bar Avdimi, when he heard that which Shmuel said to Rav Tachlifi bar Avimi, that it could be diverted and used for any purpose. So Ovid Chad Kisa, he said that you could stipulate and use it for any purpose. Ovid Chad Kisa, he made 1 purse, V'asnei Allah, and he made a stipulation with the tzibur to use it for whoever would come and need it. So when he heard that Shmuel said to Rab Tachlifi Ba'avdimi, Ovid Chad Kisa, make 1 collection box, and stipulate that you should be able to use it for whatever is necessary. So he did that as well. Ionami Ovid Chad Kisa, he made 1 collection box, and welcome in Mel Zacher. 2 lines from the top of Daf Tes Amud Aleph, just getting underway. A gewaldige evening of Torah learning. Rav Ashi Amar, Ana asnei nami lo tzirichna. I don't even need to stipulate. Why? The kol deka asi, whoever gives me money, adata di asi. They have in mind that I should use it in my best judgment. It's like giving it to a Rebbe. When they give the money to the Rebbe, they have in mind that the Rebbe should give it to who he thinks needs it the most. Hanobe Trei Tavche. Now there is probably the more correct girsa is Hano Tapche. there was a guild of butchers, a butcher's guild. And this butcher's guild, you got to train people to mute themselves. There's a butcher's guild that what they did is they made up amongst themselves. In those days, there was no refrigeration. So nobody wanted to get caught with meat that wouldn't be sold. So they made up that every butcher would get his day that he shechted his animal, so that on his day he would be able to sell all of his meat, and nobody else would shecht an animal. And they made the following fine. So Hano Tavche the Ovdei Inyon Bahadi Adadi. They made an agreement with one another. The Kolman the Ovid Biyuma the Chavre, whoever shechts an animal on his friend's day, Nikra'u Lamashche, they would tear his hide, and that would be a penalty that he wouldn't be able to use the leather from the hide. So Azul Chad Minai, one of them did misbehave, and Ovid Biyuma de Chavre, and he shechted on a day that wasn't his day. As we welcome in Avram Schenkman. Avram, it's good to have you joining us on this Thursday evening / Leil Erev Shabbos. And Avram, we are holding on Daf Tes Amud Aleph, and Stephen Holtzman is joining us as well for our 29th Zoomer of the evening. It's a shout out to Ruvain Shanit. Ruvain Shanit is in Eretz Yisrael now, and he's probably trying to listen in different ways, like Mark did when he was in Eretz Yisrael. We miss you, Ruvain, and we hope you're having a really wonderful time. We thank Michal Avram Chavin for holding the fort down in the Agudas Yisrael of Fairways. We encourage people to keep him company over there. You know, he doesn't want to be lonely in the Agudas Yisrael of Fairways, although it's a very nice place to be, if I might say so myself. So one of the people, let's see, we'll call the misbehaving butcher Marshall. So Azul Chad Minayu, one of them went, and Ovid Biyuma de Chavre, and he shechted an animal when it was another butcher's day. So, like the guild made up, Karu Lamashche, they tore his hide. Now for Marshall, that's a very big loss. So also the Kami de Rava, he took the guild to a din Torah. He said, they tore my hide. Chayvinu Rava l'shlume. Rava required them to reimburse Marshall. Now that's a surprise, not only because it's Marshall, but that's a surprise because the guild made up, this was made up ahead of time, and Marshall broke the rules, and they made up that would be the punishment. So Eisvei Rav Yemer bar Shalma l'Rava, Rav Yemer bar Shalma said to Rava, it says Ulatzia al Kitzasam, that they gave the town board the power to penalize for going against their rules. So Lo Yahadele Rava. Rava didn't even deign to answer them. Amar Papa says, Shapa Rava de Lo Yahadele Midi. It's good that Rava didn't answer. It's self-understood that if you want to make rules in a town, you got to get the stamp of approval of the gadol of the town. That's only if there isn't a eminent rabbinical figure in the town. If there's an eminent rabbinical figure, then all new decrees have to pass by his approval. So therefore, Lavko Minayo Damasno, the Butchers Guild, had no right to make such a rule without getting Rava's approval, and since they didn't get Rava's approval, the rule is not upheld, and therefore Marshall will have to be reimbursed for his hide. Tan Rabbanan. We don't take an accounting with a charity collector. And we don't take an accounting with the temple treasurer. Even though there's no proof to this, there is a hint to this. And we don't take an accounting of the people that the money is given through them to give to those that do the work in the temple, because they act with great trustworthiness. So we see that we don't take an accounting, even though they a lot of money passed through their hands. There was a lot of workers in the temple, and they used the charity money to pay. We don't take an accounting of them. Amar Rabbi Lazar, even though a person has a reliable accountant or treasurer in his house taking care of his affairs, still, in order to make it easier and more assured that everything is done in an orderly fashion, when you give him the money, yotzur v'yimneh, count it and put it in bundles, whether it's in bundles of 100 or bundles of 1,000. That will make sure that it will be easier and more likely that things will be kept b'cheshbon. Shenemar, as it says, v'yotzuru v'yimnu, you should bind it and count it. Now the question is, if somebody comes for food, do we do research on him, or do we give him the food right away? What if he comes for clothing? So here we have an interesting machloikis in the Gemara. If somebody wants food, first we look into it if he's not a faker. But if he comes in a barrel and he wants a coat, he's freezing, we give it to him. Either it's based on a pasuk, or it's based on logic. The person who needs the clothing is ashamed. He's actively being embarrassed. So we take care of him right away. The person that needs the food is not in a state of embarrassment, so we take the time to do a little investigation. Or it's based on a pasuk. Now the question is, how do we interpret the word in this pasuk? Haloi price l'rav lachmecha. You should spread out to the hungry your bread. Now, it could have written it price with a samach, but it writes it with a shin. And therefore the Gemara says, why does it write it with a shin? B'shin ksiv, price, you should first investigate, do a pirush, open up a commentary, see if he really needs it, and only then give it to him. But by clothing, it says, if you see him unclothed, cover him right away. Kisira, when you see him, to do it right away. Now, Rabbi Yehuda says just the opposite. Rabbi Yehuda, we investigate if somebody comes for clothing, but we don't investigate if somebody's hungry, we give him food right away. Either it's a logic, or it's a pasuk. A person that's hungry is in pain. A person that's hungry, you don't prolong his pain. The person that's without clothing is not in pain. Now even though it's written with a sin, but we now say that we explain it the way it's written, that you should spread to the hungry your bread immediately. Just spread it out. Praise la'alter. Ukeda karinan, the way it's read. But v'hasam ksiv kisira aram. If you have divined that he's naked. In other words, you looked into it. Kisira means you looked into it. Kishiyiralach, when you looked into it. And it's apparent to you. Tanya Kavasi Rabbi Yehuda, now we have a raya like Rabbi Yehuda. Amar Kisuni, if he says, clothe me, bait kinachrab. This is the first shot. He says, clothe me, we investigate. Parnasuni, if he says, feed me, ain baitkin. We don't investigate. Here I think we have another new person joining us tonight for our 31st Zoomer of the evening, Rabbi Shaul. Rabbi Shaul, it's great to have you joining us. We are holding 3 lines above the wide lines on Daf Tes Amud Aleph. Tani Kavasi Rabbi Yehuda Amar Kasuni Bait Kenachrav. If he says, clothe me, we investigate if he needs it. Parnasuni, if he says, feed me, ain baitkin, we give him the food right away. It's not awesome. We went over there. Ain paiskamani, we don't give less to a poor person that's passing through from one place to another. Mikikar bepunyan, we give him a loaf that is bought with a punyan. A punyan is a coin. At what rate? Me'arba sa and besela. When 4 sa go for a seller, so then we give him a loaf that's bought for a punyan. Lun, if he, as we welcome in Mo Kushner for our 32nd Zoomer of the evening. Mo, it's always a pleasure to have you as you brighten up our lives. We're in the first line on Daf Tes, the first wide line on Daf Tes Amud Aleph. For those that don't know, Mo is 97 years young, and joining us, Mo, you should join us in good health until the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu b'meher v'yameinu.
Amen.
And I want to welcome in Richard Rosenzweig and Jeff Klein, who are joining us via Facebook. Of course, all our viewers on TorahAnytime.com, all our listeners on Kol Lashon. But it's really remarkable to have 32 Zoomers here, and we're missing a lot of people here. We don't have Gedalia's not here. Berish is not with us tonight.
Watching the fireworks.
Nah, not Berish. Avram Rezepkovitz is not here with us tonight, so we're missing a lot of people. We thank Mark for joining us, even though he's a little bit jet-lagged. I'm lucky I don't get jet-lagged. I would be jet-lagged every week. But thank you, Hashem. So anyway, Lun, if the poor man spends the night, nicely parnassus lina, we take care of his lodging. My parnassus lina, what does that mean? Amra Papa Puri, we give him a bed, ubei sadya, and a pillow. Shabbos, if he stays over Shabbos, nice and laimazan shalish sudas, we give him a meal, food for 3 meals. Of course, the pasha pshat here is we give him.
Kids, go out to Bobby's side door. You can see fireworks.
Okay, I just muted you, Moshe Lehman, but you should know. No, you're not muted.
Hey, Mo was right.
Moshe Lehman, please mute yourself. We don't have to hear about the fireworks at the side door. Now, so the Pashup Pshat of 3 meals is the 3 meals for Shabbos, and some Rishonim say, and he takes from the 3rd meal and uses some of it for Malava Malka. However, that's not the way Tosfos over here learns. Tosfos, towards the bottom of the Yomit here, Shabbos, Noislei, Mazon, Sudas, has a very complicated pshat in what this means. Tosfos says that they give him food Shabbos afternoon, he uses one meal for Friday night and Shabbos morning. He uses the second meal for Shalashudis and Malava Malka, and the third meal he has when he's leaving on Sunday. So that's a very interesting shot. Tais is again trying to really answer. Oh, we have Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg joining us from Florida. 33 Zoomers. You know, this is getting to be already bourbon worthy. I mean, this is already, and this is without Marshall lifting his smallest finger. Not even his pinky. I don't know why I tell him about bourbon. If I give him bourbon, I should spill it over his head. But anyway, I don't know. Somebody wants. I could promise somebody that would really do something. I could promise them something. Who wants who wants a new Weber barbecue grill? Get us 50 people, and you'll get you a new Weber's barbecue grill. But just get us to 50 people. Come on, what's going on over here?
Bourbon briquettes.
Yeah, with bourbon briquettes, right? Now, Tana. If the poor person is already begging and going around the doors, then ain't niskaken. Then we don't give him support. We only give support to people who are embarrassed to go begging, or they're aniyim b'nei tovim. But if he's begging already, then we don't have to support him. A poor person went around to the begging. The coming to Rapapa, he came before Rapapa for communal help. Loy mizdakikle. So Rav Papa didn't help him. Amalei Rav Sama prayed Rav Yabba to Rav Papa. So Rav Sama, the son of Rav Yabba, said to Rav Papa, that's to not help him at all. That's the kiss of death. Because if he comes to you and you don't help him, then nobody's going to help him because they'll think he's not legit. Imar loy mizdakikle. If you don't help him, in the shakwina loy mizdakikle, nobody else will help him. Leimisle, you want him to die? So he says, yeah, but if he goes begging, you don't have to take care of him. You don't have to give him a big amount. But you also have to participate so that the people will know that he's legit. See, even if you know the halacha, you have to know how to interpret the halacha. This is a very good example of how a person might know the letter of the law and still rule a wrong ruling. Yeah, it says that you don't have to take care of him, but it means you don't have to take care of him in a big way. But you have to give him something, because otherwise people will say, you see, the Rav doesn't give him, then nobody will give him. Rav Asi, a person should not refrain from melase shlishas hashekel b'shana. He shouldn't refrain from giving at least a third a shekel a year to tzedakah. Shenemar v'hemadna aleinu mitzvahs. They appointed upon us commandments. Laseis aleinu shlishis hashekel b'shana. A third of a shekel a year. L'avodas beis elokeinu. So we extrapolate from that. A person should give at least a third of a shekel. Amar Rav Asi, shkulat tzedakah keneged kol mitzvahs. Tzedakah is equal to all the mitzvahs, because it doesn't say v'hamadna aleinu mitzvah. It says v'hamadna aleinu mitzvahs. Shenema v'hamadna aleinu mitzvahs. Mitzvah ain't ksiv kan. Tzedakah is only one mitzvah. It should say v'hamadna aleinu mitzvah. Why does it say mitzvahs? Ela mitzvahs, to tell us that the mitzvah of tzedakah, like tzitzis, which is shkula keneged kol ha'torah, the mitzvah of tzedakah is shkula keneged kol ha'torah kula. Greater is the one who gets other people to give tzedakah than the one who just gives tzedakah himself. If people would know what a big schar it is to go around with a shul ushka, they would run to do it. We would have to auction it off to the highest bidder. You understand that a person could drop $1 in the pushka, or he could take around the pushka and he gets a schar on the $30 that 30 people gave. Shenemar v'hoya ma'isa tzedakah. Now, it could have said v'hoya tzedakah. Ma'asa tzedakah means when you make people do tzedakah, shalom. Shalom is perfection. It's the best bracha of peace, right? Shalom is the crown of brachas, right? And just doing tzedakah is hashket v'vetach ad olam, is solitude and security. But shalom, which is the biggest bracha, shalom is shalem, perfection, that's given to the one that gets other people to do tzedakah. Zakah, if a person merits, haloi prois l'rav lachmecha, he gives his money to the poor. Loi zacha, if he's not zaycha, v'amniyah merudim tavi bayis, then rebellious poor will come to his house. That's the government, who are always wanting money, are always taxing like the poor. They'll take away your money. Amalu Rava l'bnei Mechuzah. Rava said to the people of Mechuzah, Mechuzah was a very wealthy town. It was a port city, so it was a very wealthy town. So Rava said to the Bnei Mechuzah, b'matusa minaychu, I plead with you, usu b'hadi adadi, do for each other. No, it's support each other, give charity to each other. Ki heichi d'lahavi l'chu shalma b'malchusa, that you should get along with the crown. Because if Hashem sees that you're not giving tzedakah, He's going to take away the money that you should have given to the poor and give it to the government. When the Beis Hamikdash was around, Adam shekel shikla, he would give his shekel, his matzah shekel, and have a portion in the communal karbanos, and he would receive atonement. If a person gives charity, mutav, good. That brings kapara. A person should know, when they give charity, it brings kapara. V'im lav, but if not, the idolaters of the tax collectors come, and they'll take away the money by force instead. And here the Gemara says, even though the government takes it, it's still considered a bit of charity. Your oppressors will be tzedakah. Now, why is that charity if the government takes it? So the Maharsha explains, it's a very interesting Maharsha. Maharsha explains that when the government takes it, when the government takes it, they don't bother the poor. They have enough money from the rich, they don't bother the poor. So in that way, it helps the poor a little bit. Amar Rava said, "Hai milsa ishtoili." This matter was related to me by Ula, by the young man Mishagesh or Chosei De'ime, who perverted the normal modesty of his mother, and he said it Mishmei de Rabbi Lazar. Now we're going to see, what does it mean that he did something to cause his mother to do something that a pious woman would not do before her son. Ma'idich Siv, what is it that which is written? Vayilbash tzedakah kashiryan, that a person wears their charity like a coat of mail, like a coat of armor. Leimelach, ma shiryan zeh, just like a coat of mail. Kol klipo mitztarefes l'shiryan gadol. Every scale of armor combines to a coat of mail, and we have to understand that if the arrow hits the scale, it saves his life. So one scale could save his life. And somebody shouldn't say, what's one scale? Because a bunch of scales make a coat of armor. So a person shouldn't say, I'm in shul, if I give it $1, what's that worth? What do you mean? You go to a shul like Satmar, it has 150 people davening there. If 150 people give $1 by every minyan, and there's 6 minyanim, right? So it's 150 times 6. That's $900. So kol pruta mitzaref l'cheshbon gadol, and that's what it says. Af tzedakah kol pruta mitzarefes l'cheshbon gadol. Rav Chanina Amar Me'acher. Rav Chanina quotes the following pasuk: "Uchebeged idim," like a clothing, which because of the behavior of Klal Yisrael is ugly, is unseemly. Kol tzidkosenu is all their charity. Now we're not going to get into why it's called the Beged Idim. Right now the Gemara is only analyzing the metaphor of Beged. Why is tzedakah compared to a piece of clothing? Ma beged zeh kol nima mitztarefes beged gadol. Every thread combines to make a big piece of clothing. Af tzedakah kol pruta. Every pruta is mitztarefes l'cheshbon gadol. Now, why is Rav Sheshes called Amai Kari Le Ula, the young man that was mishagesh or chosei de'imei, that caused his mother to do something which is not normally done by a mother? The boy minei Rav Achadvoi bar Ami Rav Sheshes. Rav Achadvoi bar Ami asked of Rav Sheshes, Minayin l'mitzayra b'mei sipurai. How do we know that a leper, in his days of counting, that means that he has a white spot, but the hairs did not turn white, so they incarcerate him for 7 days. That's called a mitzayra musker. How do we know that a mitzayra during his days of counting, shemetame odom, that if he comes in contact with another person, he's metami that person? How do we know that? Amalai, so Rav Sheshes told Rav Achadvai, Hayalu metame begadim, since he's metame the clothing that he wears, because it says in the pasuk, Bechibes begadav b'toyer, he washes his clothing. So since he's metame begadim, metame adam, he's metame people. Says, well, Rav Chadvai asked him, Amalei Dilma Tuma B'chiburim Shani. Maybe it's different because his clothing he's wearing it. It's not like just touching a person. Here it's something that's connected to him. And Rav Chadvai brings a raya to this. Dahisit nevela, if a person moves a carcass of an animal, Dimitame begadim, his clothing becomes tamei, but ve'ena metame adam. But a person does not contaminate a person, or for that matter, clothing that he touches. Amalei, so he says, Ela sheretz. What about a sheretz? Dimitame adam minalan. We know that shmeina shvatzim, there are 8 shvatzim, like the mole, and the toad, and the lizard, the metame adam minala. How do we know that a sheretz is metame person? La mishum de metame begadim. Isn't it because the sheretz is metame clothing, and just like it's metame clothing, it's metame adam? Amalei, so Rav Chadvai says, what do you mean? Sheretz, it says beferish in the Torah, it's metame adam. Amalei sheretz b'hed yiksibei, or ish asher yiga b'chol sheretz, or a person who touches any sheretz. So Rav Sheshes said, maybe from here, ela shikva zera de metame adam minalan. How do we know that semen contaminates a human? La mishum dahoyel metame begadim. Isn't it because it's metame begadim to metame adam? So again, Rav Chadvai says, no, there it's different. Amalei shikva zera. We learn out from the fact that it says, "O ish." Nami b'hed yiksibei. O ish. Rabbi says anageya, one who touches the semen. Now, every time Rabbi Chadvai refuted Rav Shesh's proof, he would say it in a jocular manner. He would say it in almost a a jovial way. He would answer him in like a joking way. What do you think? And that caused Rav Sheshes to be embarrassed. Cholish date de Rav Sheshes. Rav Sheshes, felt, he felt weak. And Rav Sheshes was a great man. And for causing Rav Sheshes to feel not well, Ishtik Rav Achadvoi Barami. Rav Achadvoi Barami was stricken and he became mute, and Visyakar Talmudei, and his learning became heavy upon him, meaning he forgot his learning. Now, Rav Shesh's own mother knew, she was a very wise woman, and she knew that if you cause somebody else to be punished, if you cause somebody else to suffer, it's going to affect your Olam Haba. So, Asya Ime, Rav Shesh's mother, came to him, V'kabachya kameh, and she was crying before him that he should be Meichel Rav Achadvoi. However, Rav Sheshes held that Rav Achadvoi needed to be punished because of Kavod HaTorah. So tzavcha, she cried and she cried, v'lo ashkechba. So now she did something to show how serious this was in her eyes and how urgent she felt. Amrulay, she exposed her breasts to her own child, and Amrulay chazei lahani chadye demotzis minar. See these breasts that you nursed from, and of akaras hatayv, for that forgiven. So Rav Sheshes was moved by how urgent it was in his mother's eyes, and boy rachmei alei, he asked for mercy on Rav Achadvoi and v'itzei, and Rav Achadvoi was cured.
Rabbi, wasn't Sheshes blind?
What?
Wasn't Sheshes blind?
What does it have to do with this Gemara?
She exposed herself to him.
Obviously, at this point, he wasn't blind.
Okay.
Obviously, at this point, he wasn't blind. Says the Gemara, Uda'ason Allah, now that we already asked, how do you know that a Mitzayra, in the days of his counting, when we incarcerate him, how do you know that he's Matami, a person? So Uda'ason Allah, once we brought up the subject, Takaminolan, how do we know? So the Gemara says, Kedetanya Reb Shimon Yochai Aimer, Nemer Kibas Begadim B'Meisi Purai. It says you should wash your clothing after the days of counting, and it says it after he's a confirmed Mitzayra. Ma'alahalan, a confirmed Mitzayra, is Metame Adam, contaminates a man. Afkan, even a Mitzayra Mozler, Metame Adam. Now, getting back to tzedakah, after a tzaras interlude, and again, let me tell you what's going to be tonight. We have again a triple header tonight, not such a long one, but we do have a triple header because I'm going to do after the shir, after the daf, I'm going to do for the Shabbos table for Kairach. And I have to tell you, Rabbi Isai, if you have the time, you will want to stay because we're going to be speaking about some really important things. But first, let's continue with tzedakah. Amar Rabbi Lazar, Gadol ha'oset tzedakah b'seiser yosem Moshe Rabbeinu. Greater is one who does charity privately, so as not to embarrass the poor person. It's greater than what it says by Moshe Rabbeinu. Dila b'Moshe Rabbeinu ksiv. Moshe Rabbeinu said, Ki yogurti, I was fearful, mipnei ha'af v'achema, because of Hashem's anger and his wrath. But v'ila b'oset tzedakah, one who does tzedakah in private, Ksiv matan b'seiser, a gift that's given in secret. Yich ba'af, subdues anger. B'shoichet b'chet, and a gift that's given secretly from the bosom. Chema aza, can diffuse even fierce wrath. Now that's the way that Rabbi Elazar learns it. Opliged Rabbi Yitzchak, he argues on Rabbi Yitzchak. He argues on Rabbi Yitzchak and says that although matan b'seiser can diffuse anger, but wrath, even matan b'seiser is not strong enough. Opliged Rabbi Yitzchak, Dam Rabbi Yitzchak, af kaifa, it could overwhelm anger, but chema ain't a kaifa, but it cannot subdue fierce wrath. Shenema v'shaychad b'cheik, even though there's bribery from the bosom, still chema aza, there's still fierce wrath. Apal pisha shaychad b'cheik, chema aza. Ikadamid is another version that this is telling you how terrible it is to take a bribe. Amar Rav Yitzchak kol dayin shenaitul shaychad, any judge that takes a bribe, maybe chema aza la'ilam, he brings fierce wrath to the world. Shenema v'shaychad b'cheik. If a judge takes surreptitiously a bribe in his bosom, chema aza, that causes fierce wrath. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, kol hanais, and this is a very famous Gemara. And this Gemara could be practiced very often. We could really, if anybody here wants blessing, and who doesn't want blessing? If you want blessing, listen to this Gemara with both ears. V'amar Rabbi Yitzchak, kol hanoisim pruta la'ani, if you give a pruta to a poor person, mizbarech b'sheish brachas, you're blessed with 6 blessings. V'amafaisei b'dvarim, if you say nice things to him, you appease him with nice things, mizbarech b'achas asara brachas, with 11 brachas. Now, Taisa says, if you do both, you give him the $1 and you say to him, I hope you have an easy and wonderful day, you get 17 brachas. Hanaisim prutalani misbach b'sheish brachas dichsiv halay freis l'rav lachmecha. When you give to the hungry your bread, v'aniyah merudim tavi bayis, and desperate poor come to your house. Kisira aram v'kisisa, when you see poor people and you cover them, and then the pasuk goes on to tell you all kinds of things. It says yiboka b'shachar kashachar orcha, your light will shine like the morning sun. Varuchascha meheira titzmach, and your healing will quickly sprout. V'halach lefanecha tzidkecha, and your righteousness will go before you. K'vayid Hashem yasvecha, the glory of Hashem will gather you in. Oz tikra v'Hashem yana, you'll call out, Hashem will answer. Tivashea v'yomer hineni, he'll save you and say, here I am. So there's a lot of blessings for giving to the aniyim. But I'm a faisei b'dvarim. But if you appease him with words, the poor person feels very downtrodden. And if you make him feel good, then you treat him like a colleague, not like disdain. Most people look at a poor person with disdain, and you're bothering me. If you don't radiate that attitude, it needs an adjustment. This Gemara is to help us adjust how we are with a poor person. If you appease him with words, misbarach ba'achas esrei brachas, you'll be blessed with 11 blessings. Shenema v'safek l'ra'av nafshecha, if you let come out to the hungry person your soul, the nefesh nane tazbiyah, and a soul that's afflicted you'll satisfy. Then v'zarach b'chayshach, your light will shine even in the darkness. V'afeiloscha b'tzarayim, and any darkness will be like midday. V'nochacha Hashem tamid, Hashem will constantly lead you. V'zbiyah b'tzachtzachais nafshecha, and even in a time of thirst, He will satisfy your soul. So it says over there, 11 blessings. As it continues, He will build through you the ruins of the world. Through you, the foundations of many generations will be upheld. Now this is a famous pasuk. Ma'idach siv, roidei tzedakah v'chesed, if you pursue charity and kindness, yimtza chaim tzedakah v'chavod, you'll find life, charity, and honor. Now, life and honor is a reward, but what does it mean that you'll find charity? You don't want to get charity. Mishum deroidei tzedakah, yimtza tzedakah, because you chase tzedakah, you're going to have to get tzedakah, chas v'shalom. If you pursue charity, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mamtzilei ma'is, Hashem will give you the ability v'oisabem tzedakah. In other words, like it says, aser b'shvil shetis asher. Now, literally, it means give tithes, that you should be able to be rich. But we also darshan aser b'shvil shetis aser. Give tithes, and Hashem will give you more to take tithes from. So, if you give tzedakah, Hashem will give you plenty of money to give tzedakah. Rav Nachman Yitzchak says, no. If you give tzedakah, then Hashem will make sure that your tzedakah dollars go to where it's needed. And not that you're duped by fakers. Rav Nachman Yitzchak, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mamtzilei b'nei adam hamulgadim, Hashem will make available to you worthy people la'asas lem tzedakah, to do tzedakah, kedei lekabel aleim schara, that you should be rewarded. La'afu came in the Darish Rabbah, to exclude that which Rabbah expounds. The Darish Rabbah, ma'idich siv, what is it which is written? V'yu m'chshalim lefanecha. Yirmiyah said about this is the people of Anasais who wanted to kill Yirmiyah. So he said, Hashem, let them stumble before you. Be'ez apcha asei bahem. In the time of your wrath, you should do to them. What should he do to them? Even when they subdue their yetzer, and they want to do charity, cause them to stumble with unworthy people, with fakers. So right, if tzedakah v'chesed yimtza chaim tzedakah, Hashem will make available to you real tzedakah, people that really need it, people that you will fulfill a reward with it. Now,
so against also that more where we have if the city, it goes to the city, it goes to the government, it's considered tzedakah also.
No, it's not going against it, because over there it is tzedakah. But if you give it to Rishon, it's not tzedakah. Yeah. Now, let me tell you what we're going to do now, Rabbi Isai. We're going to have, first for the Shabbos table,